You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber PrepCast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional PrepCasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. When we begin any new series of study, it is important to pause and consider who the intended learner is, what knowledge they bring with them, and what the overall purpose of the journey will be. In the case of this advanced AI PrepCast, the audience is clearly defined. It is designed for professionals who already understand the basics of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and who are now seeking to go deeper. This includes developers who have already worked with basic machine learning algorithms, analysts who may have experimented with predictive models, or managers who understand the broad outlines of neural networks but want a stronger grasp of the trade-offs and technical details that underlie them. Unlike introductory courses that spend long periods explaining what artificial intelligence is at the most basic level, this series is oriented toward those who have moved past those first steps and are prepared to explore the more intricate and subtle dimensions of the field. To appreciate the difference, it is useful to compare this advanced series with its beginner counterpart. In the beginner-level series, the emphasis is often on definitions, surface-level contrasts between machine learning and deep learning, or broad historical context. Those elements are important for orientation, but they stop short of engaging with the harder questions of system design, scalability, and advanced evaluation. This course distinguishes itself by diving directly into the heart of those complexities. Here, you will not find drawn-out introductions to concepts like supervised versus unsupervised learning, but instead you will encounter extended discussions of evaluation methodologies, embedding strategies, and how large models are adapted and tuned for specialized contexts. The contrast is much like the difference between learning how to read a map and learning how to design the transportation network itself. The latter requires not only understanding the basics, but also grappling with the layers of decision-making, trade-offs, and implications. Another defining feature of this series is its design as an audio-only experience. That decision is deliberate, and it reflects both the realities of how professionals learn and the constraints of modern life. Many learners will be listening while commuting, exercising, or engaging in tasks where screen attention is not possible. This means the course avoids reliance on visual demonstrations, code, walkthroughs, or diagrams. Instead, it leans heavily on clear definitions, step-by-step narrative explanation, and analogies that bring concepts to life without requiring visual aids. For example, instead of showing a chart of embeddings, the narration might compare them to geographic coordinates that place words in a shared landscape. This design ensures that the course remains accessible wherever you are and however you choose to listen, making knowledge acquisition a seamless part of your daily routine. To maintain clarity and predictability, every episode in this series follows a consistent structure. Each begins with a short introduction that sets the stage and frames the main ideas. This is followed by 2 extended parts, each containing multiple sections that explore specific dimensions of the topic. Between these parts is a mid-episode break, which provides both a natural pause for the learner and a moment to regroup before diving back in. Each episode concludes with a summary, not as a rushed conclusion but as a deliberate reinforcement of the key takeaways. This rhythm, introduction, main exploration in 2 halves, a brief pause and a summary, becomes familiar to the listener and provides a dependable anchor even as the technical material becomes more challenging. The pacing of episodes is also intentional. Each is designed to last approximately 20 to 30 minutes, striking a balance between depth and digestibility. Too short, and the episodes would feel like fragments without time to develop themes. Too long, and they risk overwhelming or fatiguing the listener. The chosen duration aligns with the natural rhythms of attention and the practical windows in which many people consume audio learning. Think of a train ride into the city, a daily jog, or the length of a lunch break. In each of these spaces, an episode can be completed, leaving the learner with a sense of closure and progress. This pacing is one of the quiet but powerful design choices that ensures the series can integrate into a professional's life rather than demand special accommodations. Beyond structure and pacing, the scope of this series is deliberately broad yet deeply organized. Over the course of 51 episodes, we will travel through the terrain of advanced artificial intelligence, examining model architectures, retrieval methods, evaluation practices, safety considerations, and deployment strategies. Topics such as embeddings, tool orchestration, multimodal systems, and cost optimization will each receive their due attention. The goal is not to offer a mere catalog of technologies, but to build a layered understanding of how these components fit together in real systems. By the end of the series, learners should not only recognize individual concepts, but also see how they interlock to form functioning, governable, and ethically manageable AI ecosystems. Consistency across episodes is critical for learning, and this series is designed with that in mind. Each concept is presented with the same careful pacing, terminology is introduced and reinforced with deliberate repetition, and analogies are used in a way that builds a cumulative library of images in the listener's mind. For example, once the analogy of embeddings as geographic maps is introduced, that image may be revisited later when discussing retrieval methods, so the learner sees not just isolated explanations but interconnected ones. This consistency is more than just stylistic. It creates a scaffold for learners, allowing them to revisit familiar frames even as the content grows in complexity. The word advanced can mean many things, so it is important to define how it is used here. In this series, advanced refers not to obscure mathematics or highly specialized code libraries, but to the practical mechanics of system design, the evaluation of trade-offs, the patterns that appear when building at scale, and the deeper questions of governance and ethics that emerge once systems leave the laboratory and enter the world. Advanced here means professional-level awareness, the kind of knowledge that allows you to discuss architecture with engineers, weigh evaluation metrics with researchers, and speak to governance concerns with decision-makers. It does not assume you will be writing production code, but it does assume you are ready to grapple with ideas at the level where theory meets practice. Another important guiding principle is vendor neutrality. While examples will sometimes reference well-known platforms or frameworks, this course does not tie itself to any one company's tools or proprietary systems. Instead, it uses these as illustrations while ensuring that the principles discussed stand independently of any specific implementation. This vendor-neutral approach makes the knowledge more durable, less likely to become obsolete when a product changes, and more broadly applicable across industries and roles. The intention is to equip you with a way of thinking about advanced AI that you can carry into any environment, whether you work with open-source tools, cloud platforms, or hybrid deployments. The breadth of topics covered is worth previewing here, so you have a sense of the journey ahead. We will explore embeddings and retrieval systems, how models are orchestrated with tools and APIs, how multimodal systems extend capabilities beyond text, how evaluation frameworks are constructed and applied, and how cost and resource management become critical at scale. Alongside these technical themes, episodes will continually revisit safety, governance, and ethical considerations, recognizing that no advanced technical discussion is complete without them. This breadth ensures that the series mirrors the reality of modern AI practice, where technical, organizational, and ethical dimensions are inseparably linked. Yet breadth alone is not enough. Depth matters too. For each topic, the commitment is to go far enough that you gain professional-level awareness, while not becoming mired in detail that requires immediate coding or mathematical derivation. Instead of equations, you will hear scenarios and analogies that bring the concepts into professional focus. The idea is to give you enough depth to discuss and apply these ideas in real contexts, to speak confidently in meetings, to evaluate trade-offs in design choices, or to understand the consequences of different strategies in deployment. This depth without overcomplication is one of the balancing acts that defines the series. Because this is an advanced series, there are assumptions about prior knowledge. It is expected that listeners already know what a neural network is, have heard terms like supervised and unsupervised learning, and understand in general terms how large language models process text. These foundations will not be retaught in detail, though they may be briefly recapped where necessary to establish a context. This assumption allows the series to move quickly into advanced territory without losing pace, while still maintaining inclusivity by defining every technical term on its first use. Contextual examples play a central role in this teaching design. Rather than leaning on visual diagrams, the course uses narrative scenarios, analogies, and extended comparisons to make abstract ideas tangible. For instance, when discussing evaluation frameworks, the narration might compare them to grading systems in education, where the same student's performance may look different depending on the metric chosen. These examples are not decorative. They are the means by which abstract technical material is transformed into something memorable and applicable. No exploration of advanced AI would be complete without attention to safety and ethics. From privacy considerations to questions of misuse and governance, these themes will appear repeatedly across the series. They are not treated as afterthoughts or optional add-ons, but as core components of any serious technical discussion. This reflects the reality of professional practice, where the ability to build advanced systems must always be matched by the responsibility to guide their use. The repetition of these themes across episodes is intentional, embedding them as part of the learner's conceptual framework. Finally, the series will always maintain an orientation toward application. While it is not a coding course, it is about real-world practice. Each episode is designed to leave you with a sense of where the ideas discussed apply in products, workflows, or organizations. Whether you are a developer, a manager, or a researcher, the intention is that you leave each episode with knowledge that is both intellectually stimulating and practically relevant. This dual emphasis on theory and application is the signature of the series and its promise to the learner. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other PrepCasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. One of the first challenges learners face in a long series is simply knowing how to navigate it. This PrepCast has been designed to accommodate different styles of listening. If you prefer a sequential approach, you can listen from the beginning and allow the episodes to build logically, each one adding context and complexity to the last. This method is similar to reading a textbook chapter by chapter, gaining a structured, cumulative understanding. Alternatively, you can select episodes individually when a specific topic is relevant to your current work or curiosity. This modularity reflects the reality that professionals often need targeted knowledge at the moment of decision-making. Whether you are building a retrieval pipeline, evaluating a large model, or considering ethical safeguards, you can drop into the corresponding episode and still gain value without being lost. This flexibility is a deliberate part of the series design. Behind the scenes, the series is organized into a 10-part framework that mirrors the life cycle of advanced AI systems. Early episodes emphasize architectural design and scaling strategies, while later modules tackle evaluation, safety, and governance. This ensures that the material flows from the structural foundations of systems to the applied considerations of how they operate in practice. Such integration across modules matters because it mirrors how professionals actually encounter these issues, rarely in isolation, but almost always as connected problems requiring coordinated solutions. For example, choices made in architecture have direct consequences for evaluation, while governance structures influence deployment decisions. The integrated design of the series makes these links clear rather than treating them as separate silos. As you listen, you may wonder what outcomes to expect at the end of this journey. The learning outcomes are practical and professional in nature. By the final episode, you should have a deep awareness of advanced architectures, the ability to discuss the trade-offs of evaluation frameworks, and a clearer sense of operational considerations such as cost engineering and risk management. The emphasis is on awareness and applied understanding rather than narrow coding skills. Think of it as the difference between being able to drive a car skillfully and being able to discuss why the car was designed the way it was, what trade-offs the engineers made, and how its use affects the broader transportation system. This professional-level perspective is what sets the learning outcomes apart from beginner courses. Because the series is audio-only, storytelling becomes a central teaching tool. Without diagrams or equations, the narration relies on carefully crafted analogies, scenarios, and narratives that make abstract technical ideas concrete. For example, instead of drawing a chart to explain model scaling, the narration might describe the difference between running a local bakery and managing a nationwide chain. The principles of scaling, consistency, and efficiency are conveyed without the need for visual aids. These narrative devices are not merely stylistic, they are memory anchors designed to make technical material more vivid and easier to recall later. Clarity of terminology is another promise of this series. Every technical term, no matter how common in the field, is defined on first use. This ensures that even listeners with diverse backgrounds remain aligned. For example, when discussing embeddings, the course will not assume prior detailed familiarity, but will instead pause to explain what embeddings are, why they matter, and how they function in practice. This approach maintains accessibility without diluting the advanced focus, and it ensures that listeners can confidently follow discussions without feeling excluded by jargon. Definitions become stepping stones rather than barriers. The balance between breadth and focus is carefully maintained. Artificial intelligence is a vast field, and any attempt to cover everything in exhaustive detail would be both impossible and overwhelming. Instead, this series prioritizes the ideas and practices that matter most for professionals at the advanced level. Topics are selected for their enduring relevance and their importance to decision-making, design, or evaluation. At the same time, within each chosen topic, the exploration goes deep enough to give the listener meaningful understanding. This balancing act is like preparing a curated meal. Not every possible dish is served, but those that are presented are chosen with care, prepared thoroughly, and served in a way that leaves the diner satisfied and enriched. Alignment to professional practice is another defining characteristic. The material is not abstracted from reality but tied closely to the decisions and challenges faced by those working with advanced AI systems today. Whether it is the trade-offs of fine-tuning strategies, the design of evaluation metrics, or the ethical dilemmas of deploying models in sensitive domains, each topic is linked to real-world contexts. This ensures that the knowledge gained is not just academically interesting, but directly applicable to the professional environment in which most listeners operate. While the series rewards sequential listening, it also ensures that each episode is self-contained. This means that you can return to a single episode later, perhaps months after you first heard it, and still find it complete in itself. Each episode revisits definitions, reestablishes context, and concludes with a summary, ensuring that it stands on its own. This design is particularly helpful for professionals who may revisit topics as their work evolves. For instance, you might listen to the cost engineering episode today as an overview, and then return to it 6 months later when facing a budget optimization challenge in your organization. It is worth noting that this series also provides foundational knowledge for adjacent explorations, particularly in the area of AI security. A separate PrepCast exists specifically on AI security, but the advanced series here prepares the ground by discussing governance, safety, and ethical considerations throughout. These overlaps ensure continuity and prepare learners to transition seamlessly into security-specific discussions if they wish. In other words, this course is not an isolated island but part of a broader landscape of advanced AI learning. Practical application remains at the forefront. While no coding exercises are presented, every episode emphasizes how concepts appear in practice. For example, discussions of retrieval systems are connected to how chatbots deliver accurate information in enterprise contexts, while cost engineering episodes connect directly to cloud resource optimization. This grounding in practice ensures that the time you spend listening translates into real insight you can carry into meetings, projects, and decisions. Theory is never left floating without a tether to practice. Even though this course is not tied to a certification exam, its value for exam candidates and professionals preparing for interviews should not be underestimated. Many of the concepts align with knowledge areas covered in professional certifications or appear in technical interviews for AI-related roles. By engaging with the content, you are indirectly preparing yourself for these opportunities, gaining the ability to speak fluently about architectures, trade-offs, and governance considerations that matter to employers and examiners alike. Flow and transitions across episodes are not accidental but planned. The series avoids redundancy while ensuring that each new topic builds logically on what came before. You will notice, for instance, that embeddings are introduced before retrieval methods, evaluation frameworks precede safety considerations, and deployment strategies follow architectural discussions. This deliberate sequencing creates a smooth learning arc, reducing cognitive friction and enhancing retention. At the close of each episode, you will encounter summaries designed not as perfunctory recaps but as integral teaching moments. These summaries highlight the main concepts, reinforce key analogies, and provide a sense of closure. For many learners, these summaries act as memory refreshers, enabling them to recall essential points even weeks later. The deliberate inclusion of summaries demonstrates respect for the learner's time and attention, ensuring that nothing is left unresolved. Sustained listening is strongly encouraged because the value of the series accumulates over time. Each concept connects to others, building a lattice of knowledge that is strongest when reinforced across episodes. Much like learning a new language, where vocabulary and grammar build upon each other, advanced AI concepts become clearer and more powerful when encountered in multiple contexts across the series. This means the full benefit of the series emerges not from a single episode, but from sustained engagement over weeks and months. Finally, a closing reminder. Every concept has been designed for audio comprehension. There are no hidden diagrams, charts, or code that you are missing. Everything you need to understand has been placed in the narration itself. This ensures that no matter where or how you listen, the learning experience remains complete. The commitment to audio-only delivery is not a limitation but a strength, allowing knowledge to travel with you into any space of your life, ready to be recalled and applied when needed. In summary, this first episode has introduced the purpose and orientation of the series, defined its audience, distinguished it from beginner-level content, explained its structure and pacing, and outlined its scope and vendor-neutral design. You now know what to expect from each episode, how to navigate the series, and what outcomes you can anticipate from sustained listening. With this foundation set, we are ready to move forward into the deeper technical and professional discussions that await in Episode 2. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber PrepCast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.